Good morning. It's a 2 for Tuesday. Happy Rosh Hashanah continues through tomorrow.
Yes. Thank you.
Did you know that Rosh Hashanah?
Yeah, there you
I'm
go.
I'm not Jewish, so I'm...
That was good, though.
Thank you.
It's like, think of it, it's Rosh Hashanah.
Did you know that it's also the anniversary of the creativity of Adam and Eve? Were you aware of that?
No.
Yeah.
That's so funny. In all the years, is that a Christian thing?
I don't know. I did a little research.
That's good. You're so good about that.
I'm Tony Kurre. This is Dr. Josh Klapow on KCast Radio
that.
or on Facebook Live. And, of course, you can hear us on the KCast Radio app every single morning. If you miss any of our show between 7:30 and 9:30, I know you're busy. I know your life doesn't revolve around KCast Radio and the Kurre and Klapow Show, although we wish it did.
Yes.
We replay it from 6 until 8. But, yeah, this is also the tradition of the creation of Adam and Eve on Rosh Hashanah. And I don't know how.
That's interesting. That's so really interesting. And I obviously am not a rabbinical scholar, and I'm not a rabbi.
Yeah.
You
should look into that.
I should, because we don't. I can't ever remember any of the services I've ever been to ever being talked about that. Mm-hmm. It is the new year. I know. Our new year rotates because it's on a different calendar.
Yeah.
But it just rotates a little bit. So the beginning of the Jewish New Year is also coincides with, in the Old Testament, the
creation of Adam and Eve. And there's got to be some type of tie there, right? There's got to be something.
I will do my research when I get home.
Happen on the same day.
That's so funny.
You should find that out.
I will.
I'll do a little research.
I can't
It didn't say why or how or whatever, but when I pulled up Rosh Hashanah on Wikipedia, that's what was in there. I was like, that's
fascinating.
Yeah.
Do y'all learn about that?
I could not have told you when Adam and Eve were created. I didn't know. I know the story.
We're not Adam and Eve is not a huge sort of Jewish, we talk a lot about. I mean, we don't not talk about it.
Yeah. Well, you just go back to Eve and we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is happy time for us.
Yeah.
And then,
well, heck yeah. I mean, you have a New Year's that last 3 days. That's great.
Yeah, but then coming up, this is classic. I think this is classic about being a Jew. We have a happy New Year.
And then
in a week,
tragic.
Then in a week is our Day of Atonement.
Yeah,
where it's doom and gloom.
Yeah,
that's
what I'm talking about. It's like you can't be too happy, but you can't be too sad. And if you have a sad day, then you're going to be celebrating soon. And if you're celebrating, you're probably going to be sad.
The contrast between our New Year's celebration and our Day of Atonement, you just couldn't be. It's like it's literally like New Year's and. It's Judgment Day. Our Day of Atonement. You all go to confession. Mm-hmm. Ours is one day.
Yeah.
One
Lent.
Time
a year.
Lent.
Yeah.
You give stuff. Ours is we atone one day, all day long. We fast. Every prayer is about living, redoing our sins. There's a whole thing of who shall live and who shall die, the book of life, who shall be, and then we go through the whole Jewish thing. We go through a whole thing about who shall live, who shall die, who shall have disease, who shall not, who shall be stoned by, not that kind of stone,
yeah.
and it's just this very sort of reminding you that you got to do better.
But you're done then, right?
Yeah, you're supposed to keep living that way. Yes, but yes, that's it.
I wonder from a Christian standpoint, this is sacrilege. But if would people give up the 40 days of Lent
for one long day,
for 24 hours of no eating, praying 24 hours straight?
That's what you're supposed. Well, it's not 24 hours, but it's sundown to sundown. If you the Orthodox Jews, it's sundown to sundown.
Yeah. I would push it 24 hours because sundown to sundown sounds like that's very doable.
Yeah, so you're literally. Again, if you're conservative and Orthodox, nothing. No, you're allowed to brush your teeth dry. No food, nothing. And after the sundown again, it's what we call break the fast.
Yeah.
And then we celebrate again.
Then you celebrate again.
There you go, because we came out of it the other side.
There you have it. Today's also Salami Day, National Salami Day. I love me some salami.
Which is ironic.
I love salami because it lasts. I got salami up there from July. That I made a sandwich yesterday. Still good.
Does salami's got to be able to go bad at some point.
I don't think I've ever had bad salami because there's so much fat in it. I think it's just. But salami.
So it's like beef jerky, kind of.
Salami never smells bad. It smells like salami.
Right.
So I gave my daughter a sandwich last night, and she's like, "This is July 21st." I'm like, "It's still good." She's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, it was turkey 6-7 days." No. But salami is just, I mean, salami's great. Salami could be one of those things you could keep, like, if we had Armageddon. Today is also National Attention of Deficit Disorder Awareness Day. National Attention Deficit Disorder
ADHD.
Awareness Day, yes.
Interesting.
Which,
what?
Maybe I have a little of that this morning. And also today is a Google Commemoration Day.
Yep.
It would actually happen on September 4th, but for some reason they're celebrating it today. Maybe it's because it's the first full day back at work.
Commemoration?
This is the first day that someone Googled something. Do you know what the date was?
What they Googled?
Yes. No. What was the first date that they Googled something? What was the first commemoration of Google?
I have no idea.
Take a date. Take it September 4th. What year?
2000.
1998. Very good.
Yeah, I was going to say 99.
See, normally these things you're like, 2015.
Right.
Then it ends up being like 1972. Where you're like, wow.
Right.
Yeah, 1998.
All right, so, and also, I don't know if you have it on there, this is National Suicide Prevention Week.
It is.
It's Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. Mm-hmm. It's also Prostate Cancer Awareness. Now, you see, these are the kinds of, this is, the salami's okay,
yep.
but I like these. Like, I like the ones that have meaning, not national, like, look
Salami's
at your plastic doll month.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I know, but I like, by the way, driving over, I should be listening to KCast.
You should,
but I was not. I was listening to some sports. Mm-hmm. And they're doing a whole poll on one of the stations about mayonnaise because I guess the Clemson was a mayonnaise bowl, mayo bowl.
Yeah, well, a guy was caught eating an entire tub of mayonnaise.
I almost vomited driving over just thinking about that.
I love mayonnaise sandwiches. I'll do that, but it's I can eat mayonnaise this thick on a sandwich, but I could not eat it like a spoonful of mayonnaise.
You couldn't.
Now I'll lick a spoon. because it gets caked on when you put it in the dishwasher. Yeah. I'll do that.
Oh, let me ask you a question about that as long as we're going.
Yeah.
The whole dishwasher caked on food thing. Now, I know you're a newly bachelor, so you got a whole different... Mm-hmm. If food gets caked on and it's run through the cycle, obviously it's not sightly, it's unsightly, but would you eat off the spoon or the fork?
If it comes out and it's still got some stuff?
Yeah.
No, I'll rub it off and I'll put it in the drawer.
Let's say it doesn't come off. No, I
got to rub it off first. I got to, whatever it is, I got to scrape it off.
What if it doesn't come off? What do you do?
Then I throw the spoon away.
You throw the spoon away?
Well, yeah, if it doesn't come off.
No, if you just...
If I can rub it off, then I stick it in the drawer. But if I can't rub it off, then I'll just throw the spoon away. There's some stuff, like my daughter used something on paint or something.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Let's talk on food. Because we have a whole thing in my house. I mean, it's unsightly, but if it's running through the dishwasher and it lived...
What people don't realize is what goes into your dishwasher is just like washing it down the sink. It all goes into the same thing.
Right.
So if you're thinking, okay, I can, it's not a disposal. It's not.
No, but you're supposed to leave food on there. You hear that?
No, you're not.
Yeah. You go on YouTube.
That's what the dishwasher people want you.
No,
to
go on YouTube because otherwise it senses with the whole sensor thing.
Yeah.
If your plate's too clean going in, then it doesn't sense the.
And then the other thing is people don't know how to clean out their dishwasher, and that is nasty. That is the nastiest thing in the history of the world.
This is such us.
We're
going to be talking about sex and politics in a minute. So let me tell you about that. I discovered that in ours, like maybe 6 months ago, a year ago, because we were having some... Oh, no, I know what it was. We were having some caked up food down the bottom of the dishwasher. Yeah. And I went, I sort of got picking it out, and I looked at it, and I was like, well, there's two arrows on there. Wonder what those arrows... man, I don't know. And I turned on. Oh, look, it comes out. I lifted the thing out. Oh. Yeah, it's nasty. But now, you just clean it out every a week.
Yeah, but people don't know it.
I know.
They'll go 10 years without.
Well, that's what I mean.
It's like cleaning out the inside of your washing machine.
You're supposed to all the time.
People don't do that either until it starts to leak or back up or something like that. There's little holes there.
We should be doing YouTube because we've been having between mayo.
Like a couple old housewives.
That's right. Go ahead.
All right. So I woke up this morning and I wasn't going to share the story, but I shared it with my son. My son's like, "You got to share the story. It's disgusting, but you got to share it." And I said, "Okay." So I got bitten on my left nut. Last Wednesday.
You haven't shared that before. Not even with me.
I know.
By what?
And I believe it was a chigger. Now, a chigger is one of these bugs that we don't have them down in the South a whole lot. They do exist, and chigger is like a badass mosquito where it bites you and then it goes inside your skin, right? And up in the Midwest, you'd see a lot of kids. You don't see it now, but you see kids with nail polish all over their skin. My mom had pink nail polish, and I used to go to school with, it looked like I had calamine all over with nail polish because it suffocates them. The nail polish encrusts on top of your skin, and then they can't breathe, and they die. And then
what
they
happens?
stop itching. And chiggers will last like a month.
What happens? Whoa. They die. They're burrowed.
They burrow inside your
and
skin.
then you put this.
And it itches like hell, and every time they move, it itches.
Right.
You can have, and if you go out in the woods, like up in Westchester, Ohio, you'll come back with like 37 chigger bites. They itch, and if you put something over top, some people like super glue or whatever over top, it suffocates them, then they die, and they just go away.
What do you mean go away? How do they get back out of your skin?
They don't. They just dissipate in your bloodstream or whatever. They're super small. You don't see them, but I mean, but they itch like hell, right? So I got one on my left.
That's why you've been changing positions. I wondered about that.
It's so bad, and I was like, this is ridiculous. And so evidently, in the middle of the night, sometimes you scratch yourself and you don't realize you're doing it, and I made myself bleed, right? And so I'm a clean guy.
You're very clean.
Okay, I don't like being sticky.
No.
Like if I'm sitting in my chair and I got something sticky in my
take a
hand,
shower.
I got to go wash my hands or go take a shower. I don't like the way stickiness feels on my sheets. I got to take a shower before I go to bed. I shower at least once a day, if not twice.
Yesterday was 3 days.
So I'm in the shower last night, and I'm like, this damn thing is really starting to bother me.
And you knew what it was? Or
I thought because it itched really bad, and so I get some of this, I don't know, bite off or whatever, some type of salve or whatever, and I put it on there, and it made it feel better. So I'm taking a shower this morning, and I'm looking down, and it's got a little red spot on it where it had bled, right? And I was like, I can't believe this scab is still on there, because that part of your body, for you people that don't know, I don't know what happens with the woman's vaginal area. But for guys, we heal really quick down there.
Yeah.
Like super quick.
Yeah.
Like I could cut my arm open and it'll bleed for like a couple of... Down there, for whatever reason...
Yeah, it coagulates.
It coagulates really, really fast.
Yeah, well, because it's...
Which is a really, really good thing.
Yeah, it has to do with survival.
You got somebody you want to be with. You want to make sure everything looks
that's
good.
not... It's also a survival thing, yeah.
So I look down, and I'm going... And I'm like, I'm just going to pick this scab off. Because I'm tired of looking at it.
Between that and mayonnaise...
You know what it was?
It was a chigger.
It was a tick.
Wait, is that worse?
I had a tick on my dick. I was like, and I looked at it, and I didn't have my glasses on. I'm in the shower, and the water's on, and I kind of, and I was like, and and I'm going,
oh, it was done. It wasn't dead.
No,
it was.
Ticks don't die until you kill them. And of course, back in the day, the myth is, you had to get the head and stuff. You just burn it with a match.
Yeah.
Like I ain't taking no match near little Anthony and the Imperials. That ain't happening.
Good Lord.
So I pinched it off and put it down the drain. And it's crawling around, and I'm like,
did you pass out?
No, I didn't pass out, but I couldn't believe this damn thing was on me since last Wednesday, and it disgusted me. But I'm kind of like, and I'm a clean guy. I mean, I take showers every single day.
But ticks burrow too, don't they? Or they?
Well, they get in a little bit.
Yeah, so you wouldn't necessarily. It wouldn't come out just by cleaning yourself.
It freaked me out. I was like, okay, this is, and of course, right away I'm starting to, because normally, you come in from the woods and mom's checking you. Right. The kids, they used to check your hair.
Right.
And you take a shower at night, you're out in the woods because they fall from trees and they ticks, and for the most part, they come out, or you feel a little bump. And if they get in there, they'll last a couple of days till you find them. Dogs, dogs have ticks all the time. You're picking ticks off dogs. But I've never had one on my sack before. I was like, dude, what is going on? We got forest fires. We got Afghanistan. Now I've got a tick on my jump. I'm like, this is not cool. All I can do is spiders.
Dude, you know what it is? It's the animal thing.
That's what I thought. Then I'm thinking, do I have what is the tick, Rocky Mountain tick fever or whatever? So now I'm kind of freaking out. But I took it off, and now I feel great. It doesn't itch anymore. And I was like, but I've had a tick down there for like the last 6 days. That's disgusting, man. Imagine if I was on a date or something. That's what I was thinking. I was like, I got to.
Do you think it has anything to do with the pandemic? Like, I don't mean Corona, but the pandemic. Like, I think all these, like, just because we're doing all this, like, we're home more.
Yeah.
Right? We're taking phone calls out in the backyard.
I'm just trying to figure out how in the world that little guy got down there.
And you didn't know it.
I mean, I've got spider bites and mosquito bites, and how in the world did I get that inside?
It must have carefully, like very gingerly, got on there. Like you wouldn't. Well, you did know that something was itching, right? You said.
Yeah, it's like hell for like 4 or 5 days.
Okay,
I was itching around it, and I was like,
well, but you can't see that well. You needed like a dental,
I need to go to a gynecologist and put my feet up the stairs and find out what's.
You should have called Brian Christine.
But then I found out I was like, wait a minute, and I thought I'm just going to take the scab off because it'll coagulate again, and maybe.
Who do you go to when that happens? Do you go to an ER? Do you go to your urologist?
You don't go to anybody. You just pick it off.
No, I'm saying like, is that
if you leave a tick on something long enough, it'll just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
That's what I mean.
They'll just explode. But I was like, it freaked me out. I'm all good now, by the way, ladies. I'm good.
Did you have a mayonnaise sandwich to make yourself calm?
Some manscaping because I manscape too,
yes.
And normally ticks like to go inside hair.
Yeah.
And I don't. I'm pretty.
So you didn't think
I whistle when I walk.
You didn't think you maybe nicked yourself?
No. Well, I didn't know what it was. I just knew it itched real bad, and I thought that must be a chigger bite because it wasn't going away.
Well, or you know what else?
Well, yeah.
A lot of itch.
Well, that would have been more than that. That's a good. We should put a poll question out. Would you rather have a tick or crabs?
I'm sure tick.
Yeah,
because you could go get it removed.
Yeah.
I wonder.
And you can't give ticks to other people, can you? I couldn't believe I had a date with this guy finally the night, and he gave me ticks. You never hear that?
Well, no, because once they're in it, they don't jump, do they?
No, no,
they don't go.
No, but could you imagine if I'm on a date and I'm finally about ready to commence this relationship I have,
they would.
And I'm thinking to myself, I would say, hey, listen, I got this chigger bite down there that's just driving me crazy. I would probably be open book about this. But I mean, if she saw it, I mean, that's just. I mean, could you imagine if a woman had a tick? I've never heard of that happening before. I never heard of everyone ever having a tick in the nether region like that.
Well,
I started feeling around all over the place. I'm like, wait a minute.
I would think for women it would be more likely.
Why is that?
It's just easier to get up in there.
They got more hair. Well, they got less hair than we do, for the most part, I think. I would hope. I would think. Anyway,
you move on. I'm still contemplating.
Share with you. So I was listening to the story about this Afghanistan man, and it was a great story. I heard it on NPR. I'll give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
And long story short, he was in Afghanistan. He wanted to become an American. He became an American, came back. He was bilingual. He watched Rambo 3 like 75,000 times, and that's how he learned his English.
That's great.
So he had quite the mouth on him.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he went back, and he was an interpreter. He was afraid he was going to get killed. He ended up coming back over the United States, became a U.S. Army member, and then they shipped him to Afghanistan.
Yeah, I've heard his story.
And his family's over there, and he couldn't go see his family. And after 4 years, he's like, I've had enough. And so he goes and sees his family. They put an IED on the back of a motorcycle. They kill 4 of his family members. He brings his sister and his mother back over here. Long story short, they're doing well, but it was just a tragic story. And so they were like, when they were trying to get out this last time, they had to have a code word to U.S. military to show that they were cool and that they needed to be evacuated. Do you know what their code word was?
Rambo.
No. Tom Brady.
How? Why?
That was the code word. And so the first thing I thought of, think right off the top of your head, what's the most iconic thing in the United States?
McDonald's.
McDonald's? Okay. I thought Empire State Building.
Oh.
That's the first thing I thought of was like
I'm going Brady.
Tom Brady, because Tom Brady's about as American as it gets. He's won 7 Super Bowls. And I'm like, that makes sense. So obviously they were trying to find something very, very American as an iconic code word for them to get out.
Yes.
You're not going to say bratwurst.
Right.
Because it doesn't make sense. But the first thing I thought of, what's the most iconic American thing you think of?
Statue of Liberty. But that's too much. Maybe it's too much. That's like
yeah, and you want to make it a code word.
Right, because Statue of Liberty would be just too... Well, even Empire State Building might be a little too...
Exactly.
Tom Brady...
yeah, right. Tom Brady would be... It's a pretty good... Tom Brady, okay.
What if the other... Well, everybody knows who Tom Brady is. I'm thinking on the American side. What if you don't follow football?
Huh? They don't really care. They just go Tom Brady. They probably think Tom Brady could be a service member or something.
I'd say McDonald's.
McDonald's is
Big Mac.
Worldwide, though. It's not, it's not
right,
American.
Right.
It was created in America.
Yes,
McDonald's is everywhere. It's a good American...
Costco.
Aerosmith.
Oh, if we're going to go there. Now, but see, that's... I mean, it's American, but they're global.
They are, but they're an American band.
Okay, well, there's a ton of them you could do.
Did you know the
Skinner?
Did you know the?
Oh, Skinner'd be good.
Did you know the band America
is not
American?
They're not. Where are they?
No.
They're from Britain.
I think they're from Netherlands or something.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
That just ruined half my childhood.
They got the name from some play or something they saw over here.
That's terrible.
The band America is not from America.
That's terrible.
And Barry
Skinnerd.
And Barry Mann.
Skinner.
Write the songs. Skinnerd.
Skinnerd.
Skinnerd be a good
Skinnerd.
word, yeah.
Because it doesn't really sound like anything.
What if you forgot what the code word was, and then you're going through a book of American Skinnerd?
Well, you know what that is.
Pittsburgh Steelers.
You know what that is?
What's that?
That's like when you forget your I know they have password lock things. You ever forget your password, and you know that you've put in. Well, we had this problem the other day, right? So you've put in all these combinations. I don't know if you do this.
Oh, look at that.
Oh,
we found it.
That's sweet.
It's my whole list of my
Don't
entire
show
life.
it. But have you ever done that?
I had all my passwords in one spot.
Yeah.
And I knew it was good, and I didn't want to write it down.
That's why they have
everything, and I lost it.
That's why they have the vaults.
And I'm like, oh no. And so I was going to have to go through, and you don't realize how many passwords you have. I mean, everything from your IP ink cartridges to your school stuff to all this garbage.
I'm all into biometric.
You ever use their
passwords.
You ever use their passwords? Yeah.
The strong passwords? No, not
but then you have to remember to save the password because
if you don't, there's not. I mean, you can't. Right.
E7 question mark small e.
So this is funny. It's not funny, but it's important. So I work with in one of my companies. I work with developers.
Yeah.
Right. So developers are really computer savvy. Obviously, they're computer savvy. They do a few things I think is fascinating. Mm-hmm. Number one, you rarely see them on social media.
Yeah.
So these are guys who do coding and stuff. You don't see them on social media. Sometimes on social media, but rarely see on social media. Number two, and the couple of ones I work with, they'll send out a new software update, and then they'll send out a password. Mm-hmm. And these are passwords that they use, and they're not the randomly generated ones. There's passwords they make up, and they're C caret. And it's this long, and you're like, really?
Yeah.
And the other thing that they do, which I think is just hysterical, and we can relate to this, is like I'm a Mac person, right? I'm a Mac. Software developers and guys who code, it's all PCs.
Yeah.
You know why?
Why is that?
They rebuild them, just like cars. So they get a basic one, and they put in an extra motherboard.
Yeah.
They put in that.
You can't do that with a Mac.
Not really. They put in RAM.
Yeah.
They jack it up, and it's like nitrous oxide in the thing. And it's so funny because they buy it for whatever, $500,
mm-hmm.
and you're like, and I'm like, why would you get that? They're like, come here, let me show you. Let me open it. You see this? He's got a. First of all, I don't know what I'm talking about. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this semiconductor in here. But they do the strong password stuff, and I don't do the strong password. I should, but I get afraid.
You got to remember it, and you got to put it on that device. So if you're remembering strong passwords on your Mac,
right,
but you don't have it on your phone, then if you're trying to check your email from your phone, then you can't check your email from your phone.
We're like freaking. This is like a Kim Commando show.
It's a bunch of hooey. All right, so this story really kind of affected me, not only because it's affected my life and certainly people around me. It just sucks. And a famous celebrity, it really does. A famous celebrity came out and said, really? People are still dying from heroin overdoses? Isn't it 2021? What are we doing here?
Oh, somebody said that?
Yeah. I mean, it was an RIP. It was a friend, friend of his. And he's like, damn, I am just distraught.
Yeah.
We're still overdosing on heroin.
Yes.
What's going on here? A couple of days ago, a gal named Kate Quigley, who is a famous comedian, she was dating Darius Rucker. She lives in Venice. She got a hold of some bad coke that was laced with fentanyl. Fortunately, she didn't do enough of it that it killed her, but it did kill 3 of her comedian friends in Venice Beach, California. And it didn't take much, and so she's like, I'm okay, I'm fine, but and that's basically all she said. So it was really, really unfortunate, and she was really well known in the California area. Then Michael K. Williams, who I really didn't know. If you told me his name, I'd go, I don't know who that is.
Until you saw him.
Until I saw him, I was like, I know this guy. He is a 5-time Emmy Award-winning nominee, was in this thing called The Wire, which ironically enough, he played Omar Little, who was a drug dealer in the show. And he even said in his last Instagram post, he said it was really great for me because it is well known that he was rehabilitating and recovering from his own drug addictions, and that he said there was a real gray area there. It's kind of like a sex addict playing a sex addict in a movie, and having to, because a lot of guys want to, what do they call that when they actually play the part? They learn the part. They're method actors.
Yes.
He'd gone through the whole method thing and the dealing and all this stuff, and it just was too much for, obviously, from a trigger standpoint.
Yeah.
And so they found him yesterday afternoon at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in his Beverly Hills apartment around a table full of heroin, and he was dead. He was also in Lovecraft Country on HBO. He was also on Boardwalk Empire, which is a great show. And I'm just like, he's 54 years old, and again, this is another one of those guys where, you're only going to hear great things about him right now, but evidently everyone that knew him, big heart, would give you anything, super nice guy, always had time for you, never took the craft or his gift for granted, and just really enjoyed it. And he was just one of those humble kind of guys. When you see him in interviews, he's like, I can't believe I got this part.
Yeah.
And he was like, he played with some big celebrities. Yeah. Anyway, and it obviously it was not a suicide. It was an overdose in this particular case. But it's like, man, yeah. And that just goes to show you that no matter how big or how famous you are, you can get a hold of some bad stuff. And it's just kind of like, you think about the guys on the streets and the people that just can't fight this addiction, whatever the addiction is. Alcohol's a little different because you're buying it from stores, and for the most part, you're not going to die unless you just have too much of it. In this case, when you're talking illegal stuff and this fentanyl, it's just like, And it's funny because I remember back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and when I used, you get lousy stuff. This stuff sucks. This is terrible. And now...
Well, terrible's dead.
Right. Now, good is dead.
Right.
Be careful what you wish for. It used to be, I don't know, I was watching some cocaine show on the Discovery Channel where it used to be like 15% pure. Now it's like 80-something% pure, and you don't even know what it's laced with. It's real unfortunate. I don't know if you've had anything to say about it. You're a psychologist.
No, it's a great...
It just bums me out because we've seen it over and over and over again. And Michael K. Williams, again, wasn't one of these guys where he was like a Justin Bieber or someone that we'll remember for years. But we will certainly remember him over the next few days and what his contributions were to cinema and everything else he did. But it's unfortunate. It's really sad.
No, I mean, like you said, this is one that we didn't know. Chris Cornell, another one. But like I was thinking the Demi Lovato story, right? Where it's much more public. You have no idea at any point what most people are dealing with unless it's so, even if it's so bad, unless they're showing you.
Yeah.
And I always say to people, some of the most disturbed, crazy, distressed, crazy I'm saying in a sympathetic way, people I've ever seen, they look like you and I.
Yeah.
Like they hold their self together, maybe like this guy, like is able to do his stuff. Again, I think of like the Whitney Houstons where we sort of publicly we saw her going downhill, and we see this in our workplace. I mean, we see. I end up talking a lot about this. We see people that we work with, or maybe we know them from church or family members, and like when they go from fine to kind of not quite okay, we tend to write it off. Yep. They're having a bad week, they're having a bad month.
Absolutely.
Because they're not, they're not coming in coked out of their mind, falling over drunk. But I always tell people when somebody doesn't seem quite right, give it a day, give it a week. Because people kind of rebound in a week, and it's just something a little off. We're all a little
They're not
off.
Responding like they normally do.
Yes,
They're just acting a little off.
A little off. It's this much off.
Yeah.
When it's this much off, and your radar goes up, and listen, our radars go up, but a lot of times, and I understand this, we don't really want to say anything because we don't know what to say, because it's not so, if somebody's walking at work with their head down, or they can't keep their head up, or they're fine. But if they just seem a little off, we don't know what to say. It is so much better to check in and say to somebody, "You okay? You seem a little off." And a lot of times people say, "No, I'm fine. That's okay. I noticed." And the reason that that's important is it can plant a seed in somebody's head that two things. One, somebody noticed, and particularly if you say, "Look, I just noticed. If anything's ever bothering me, I'm here. I'm here. So it plants the seed and it opens the door. And then you don't have to do anything else. But you hear these tragic tales of, and it always comes around on the backside. They seemed a little off. Mm-hmm. They seemed like things weren't quite right. They missed a few days of work.
Yep.
You know this from rehabilitation, from addiction. Mm-hmm. They missed a few days of work. And then they came back and they were fine. And then they missed a few days again.
Yep. Yeah, it's for me, it's consistency.
Yes, that's
it. There's nothing. I can only think about 2 or 3 different people. You're a very consistent individual, and I know that when you're non-existent, something's going on, and you're a big boy. You can handle yourself. You're a psychologist.
Well, but I can't.
I'm the same way. But I mean, when someone just doesn't, when someone's super consistent, there's not a lot of people that are consistently always on. They're always on because you're not around them all the time. Maybe you have a meeting with them every day, and they're always on. And you're like, he's always on, dude. He's always in a good mood. You don't see them the rest of the time. Now, if you're married to that person or you're living with that person, you don't see the inconsistencies. But yeah, if you're friends with somebody over a long period of time, I had a phone call with a friend of mine yesterday that I hadn't heard from a long time. I used to hear from every 2 or 3 days. And I just called up and said, hey, what's going on? He's like, and he had some stuff going on. Nothing this deep.
Yep.
But just had a lot of stuff going on. I'm sorry. I said, no, it's cool. I'm just calling to check in. But consistency is one of those things. You want to go through, and again, the list is crazy. We go through Art Bell, of course, was an American broadcaster, had issues. Tom Petty, Prince, China, Scott Whalen from SDP. Philip Seymour Hoffman was one of those guys where everyone knew his name and everyone knew his movies. He wasn't the A-list guy.
Right.
I'm sure there was a couple movies where he was the A actor. But again, one of those things where you're like, Joan Rivers was another person. These are people not that evidently they overdosed, but some of them lived, obviously.
Oh, these are all people who've overdosed?
Yeah. Amy Winehouse was another one. Michael Jackson, Billy Mays, Heath Ledger, Ike Turner, John Entwistle from The Who was another. Chris Farley. The Chris Farley story, by the way, was just
Belushi,
heartbreaking. John Belushi was another. Kurt Cobain, River Phoenix.
Look at that.
We can go on and on.
And these are people. Let's be clear.
Bias, I mean, was huge.
Right. These are people who overdosed.
Yeah.
Right. So these are not people with addiction. Only this is that next.
Well, and that's the other common misnomer is that you must be an addict if you overdose. And that's not true.
No, you could be not. You could be naive.
There's a much better shot that you're going to overdose if you are an addict.
Well, but except we talked about
because you need more and more and more.
But except we talked about with the cocaine laced with fentanyl.
Yeah, and I don't know if they used every day. I don't know if they used every week. I don't know if this was just a whim. Janis Joplin, Judy Garland, Jimi Hendrix, Brian Jones, Brian Epstein, Lenny Bruce, Marilyn Monroe. I mean, Hank Williams Sr., Tommy Dorsey, Sigmund Freud.
Yeah.
Did you know?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. That was the whole cocaine.
Was that a mushroom thing?
No, cocaine.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Cocaine used to be, they used to think it was therapy. It was used for sort of therapeutic purposes.
And it still can be used therapeutically.
Yeah, not this way. Well,
if your doctor is prescribing you cocaine for your problems,
it's just, it is, we are very judgy. We are very judgy. We're very judgy. And when we're judgy, not just on addiction stuff, although I've seen it, you've seen this too, particularly when it's a friend or family member who you never would have thought.
Yeah.
We get super judgy real quick. First we get concerned. There's concern, and then there's you need to stop. You stop it.
Yeah.
You look what you're doing. We go and somehow you see the same thing in depression, but it's a little different. So depression, I think we've learned enough, and you'd think we'd learn this with addiction, but with depression, we've learned enough that when we tell people, oh, come, cheer up, buck up, and when they're really depressed, I think lots of people know enough now to go, okay, I've told them to cheer up 16 times, and they can't get out of bed.
Yep.
But with addiction, it just seems so different. It's we know more about it. It's more commonplace. Mm-hmm. But it's that, would you just stop? Look what you're doing to your life.
Yeah.
Just stop. And whereas with, again, depression is you need to go get help, and we don't want you to kill yourself.
Yeah.
Right? So you think about depression, and it's always like if you check down the list in depression, and this goes with suicide prevention, we don't want you to be depressed. We don't want, we want you to be able to get out of bed and stuff. But the fear that a lot of people have when they know about depression is they'll kill themselves.
Yeah.
They'll actively kill themselves. Mm-hmm. Whereas with addiction, it's the you're ruining your life.
Yeah.
Don't you think? I mean, the overdose piece, you think about it, but it's more of this, you think about it as a slow slide. Stop it, stop it, stop it. Look what you're doing. You just got hospitalized. Stop. Demi Lovato, great example. You had a stroke. Stop it.
Yep.
Whereas depression, I think, is just, we're so worried that you're going to cut yourself, shoot yourself, OD, whatever.
Well, and unfortunately, too, there's such a stigmatism that goes along with it, because now if Demi Lovato ever acts weird.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Or she's a little off. Because addicts are the best liars, and to themselves they lie the most. So yeah, it's usually something where you were a little crazy last night, or ooh, that was fun, but it depends on, because it's usually something that creeps into your life, and like I always mention, the alligator by the lake, it pulls you in. Next thing you know, you don't realize you're being pulled in.
So, but think about that. Think about the stigma you just said. That's really interesting. So
and there's a whole thing going on now. The government's running these commercials. Don't judge. Help kind of thing. So continue.
No, I was just going to say, think about it, and this goes with any.
I don't know if Michael Williams could have been. I don't know if he was an addict. I don't know. I don't know.
He died of an overdose. That's all we know.
He died of an overdose. He had a pile of heroin in his
apartment. So it could have been anything.
We can make all these.
Think about this though. If you come out and you say, I have a psychological disorder, I have a psychiatric disorder, and some of this, I'm going to say this again, some of this is, and it's moving in the right direction because it is generational. But you say that, and you say you're depressed, you have an anxiety disorder, but it's well managed. People didn't know. Oh yeah, I suffered from depression. It's well managed. I take medications. I'm in therapy. So instantly, addiction, the same thing. I'm sober now. I go to meetings and I do my thing, and it's all good. And you look at the person, and you're instantly going, ooh, like it's not a sure. But you go, whoa, because I would have never known. Now, somebody said I'm diabetic, right? I have diabetes. You might initially go, oh, I had no idea. Okay, now you got the depression, the anxiety, the thing, and you're acting just slightly off at work.
Yep.
There is so much more of a, I wonder if they relapsed. I wonder if they're having things. Whereas a diabetic, you could also be acting a little strange at work because, are you okay? Is your blood sugars okay? And there's much more compassion. I'm not saying that people are mean, but it's mental healthy things scare the bejesus out of all of us.
Sure they do.
Much more so. And yet, if you're diabetic and your blood sugars are off, dude, you could.
It's the same thing.
Well, yeah, I mean,
they're both diseases.
Yeah.
They're diseases. Whether you want to, just say no. You can't. It's a disease.
They're conditions, and when you say disease, and it's the same. They are conditions.
Yep.
I think one of the things that is so great, and this may scare you a little bit, but your kids are a little young. Talk to college kids. It used to be YouTube. Mm-hmm. Now they learn everything on TikTok. Mm-hmm. They learn everything on TikTok. And one of the things that I've noticed about the 22, 23, 24, let's say 30 and down, mm-hmm. mental health diagnoses, even if you're judgy about it, it is to say it. He's depressed, she's depressed, he's got an eating disorder, she's got an eating disorder. It's no big deal. I mean, it's no big deal to talk about it. Now, they still may judge, etc. That's the good news. I think that's a huge step in the right direction because our generation was all about addiction was always the one that was okay.
Yeah.
But a lot of people run around and they don't have addictions. And in fact, a lot of times we see overdoses and subsequent use and addiction. What comes before it is typically anxiety.
Yeah.
Right? And we talk about a lot of times people become addicted because they don't know how to cope with the stresses of their lives.
And I'll say something about this stigmatism too, because whenever you do get around a recovering alcoholic or a recovering addict, you want to know how much time it is. I forget who it was that came out the other. John Legend's wife.
Yes.
She just came out over the weekend, said she's been sober for 50 days. And of course, everyone's like, way to go, that's great. And she's like, I didn't like who I was, and I couldn't enjoy the party anymore, and blah, 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 blah. And that's great. That's super.
Yeah.
As a person who's gone through that process, I'm like, get some more time under your belt.
Yeah.
Because 90 days is certainly a benchmark point. That's where all your...
Was it publicly known that she was...
I don't know. I think it was based off her text and tweets about the suicide, go kill yourself, and I hope you die soon, blah, 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 blah. And I think she was just trying to clean up some parts of her life.
Got it. Yep.
And we see that a lot with celebrities. and that's great. That's super. You look at someone like Anthony Hopkins, who's a raging alcoholic and addict, has been sober now for 20-something years or whatever, and that's super. The thing is that the stigmatism that sticks to a lot of people is if you are a former, or I'd say a former, you're an addict, a recovering addict, and you've been sober for years, they always think that you're one bad moment away from jumping off and relapsing, and it's not true. Mm-hmm. It's not true. If you're working the program and you're part of it and you're passing it forward, you're just as healthy as anyone that was never been an addict or never even drank. You recoil from the fire. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. There are people that are sober for 20 years that fall off. They do relapse, and that's part of it. It's like giving up cigarettes. Cold turkey don't work. It takes the average smoker 9 times to finally kick the habit of smoking. I'm dipping right now, and it's something I'm working on too. So that's one of those things where it takes 9 times. The stock market never goes like this. It goes like this.
Yes.
It goes up and down, and it's part of the process. We don't want to admit that because we don't want to relapse, and we don't want to fall back into that because when you do relapse, it comes back twice as bad as you had the first time. But there is that sense of, don't piss him off, or I hope he doesn't have a bad day, and that's just not true. There's a stigmatism that a lot of people don't
because
realize. That's why programs like Al-Anon and stuff are super important for partners or for mates or for family members who are with that, because it is a family disease.
Well, because listen, you can talk about the disease process and you can talk about the sort of the addictive properties. But when you do something, we always talk, psychologists talk about, there's the 2 pieces. There's that, the it's in your system thing. But then there is the psychological behavior. It's the habit thing. So and I try to say this to people. Think about somebody who has been trying to stay away from certain fat foods, right? With the more we study obesity, oh my God! I mean, it's the same. We believe there's an obesity gene.
Yep.
It's sort of the same gene that is the addictive gene. But if you think about it, and I always think this is important. Like dial this back to your life. Mm-hmm. You've been on an exercise program. You've been trying to communicate better with your spouse. You've been trying to be more patient with your kids. You've been trying to eat better, whatever it is. And you did it for a week. And you did it for 2 weeks. You're at a month now. Mm-hmm. You're at 30 days. I've been on my diet, my exercising, and then and people are like, okay, keep the cake away from him. Don't let him see the cake. We're going out to dessert. Oh, dessert. It's exactly the same thing. And that person very often is in the position where they do have a lapse.
Yeah.
They have a lapse. Mm-hmm. And it's in that moment that their support system, their own psychological tools are going to determine whether they fall off the proverbial wagon. And the reason I think that's important is it happens on not just much more serious behaviors like addiction. It happens on everything.
Yeah.
Consistency, time, because there's the habit component.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, habits work the same way that the stock market does. They go like this. Mm-hmm. They go like this. Now the difference is, if I fall off on an exercise program, chances are, if I miss a week or a month, I'm not going to die.
There is something to be said about how far you fall off.
Yes,
because
that's a good
lot
point.
of people think, well, if I'm on we've done it a million times. You're on a diet, screw it, and you get the tub of ice cream and you eat the whole damn thing.
Right.
Or you're going to blow because I've screwed up, so I might as well blow the door.
Well,
off.
and that's
where
yes.
where the overdose. That's where the overdoses come from, and it's unfortunate because in like a lot of cases, and I've heard it a million times. When people do relapse, well, I've relapsed.
Yes.
I might as well make a party out of it. Let's go.
Well,
and it takes it to an all
binge eating level. Is the same thing.
Yeah.
Binge eating and binge drinking. I've relapsed. Damn it! I hate
people
myself.
Do it every Friday.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah.
I mean, I used to do remotes and stand by the side of streets. I couldn't tell you how many people had 6 packs of beers and they're drinking beer on the way home. I hadn't drank all week. It's Friday. I'm getting after it.
Yeah.
I mean, they couldn't wait till they got to the house, and they're drinking. Anyway. It's unfortunate, and again, a lot of people in and around his family and his friends are like, damn, I should have seen this, or I could have done more, or could I have seen what he was going through. Sometimes you don't, sometimes you do. And again, we always think that celebrities and these people have life so good. Why would they do this to themselves? He didn't want to die. But what could I have done? And you know this firsthand too, because you've done a lot of people and people that are close to you. Sometimes you do everything you possibly can do, and sometimes it's just got to work its way out.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate because, and this is a perfect time to tell you about the Jimmy Hale mission.
Yes.
Because 90% of people that are homeless have some type of addictive property. in most cases, they're loved by their families. They're very capable of being community members and giving back to the community and using the gifts that God has given them to coexist with all of us. They just can't seem to get it together, and the demons have just got them to the point where they just can't. They figure they need help, and they don't want to ask for it, but they get it. And you get it through the Jimmy Hill Mission. They're going to help you vocationally, mentally, physically, spiritually. They do it all. Michael Coleman, who's a good friend of mine, took over the Jimmy Hill Mission a couple of years ago. They've been around for 77 years, something like that. I've been working with them for 30 years. They do great work. But if you're all in, and you want to get back out in the community, you want to get your GED or college degree, you want to get back with your family. In a lot of cases, you see someone that's an addict or homeless, they've got family members that live in town.
Oh, yeah.
They're just over it.
Yeah. Well, they don't know what to do with them.
They don't know what to do anymore. And they okay, here we go again. And give it your best shot, and then 2 weeks later, and it's really unfortunate. But the Jimmy Hill Mission can help. Jimmy Hill Mission, Jimmy with IE, jimmyhillmission.org, jimmyhillmission.com. And if you go to our website, kcastradio.com, it's kcastradio.com. There's a donation button. You can punch that bad boy. $5 a week will change the life of a woman, man, or a child. They're a non-for-profit, obviously, and they will help you out. You can also listen to KCast Radio on the KCast Radio app. We're being on Facebook Live right now, and, of course, on the KCast Radio's app as well. It's a 2 for Tuesday. Talk about another one of our great sponsors, then I'll play a 2 for coming up here. And then had a friend of mine reach out to me last night who is really good friends with a couple. He's single, really good friends with a married couple.
Okay.
He was at a party, and he saw his best friend's wife do something with another guy that was a head scratcher. He was
love a head scratcher.
He's kind of like, that just doesn't, and her husband was not around, but he's like, and she knew he was in the room.
Yeah.
And she's like, hey, John, and he's like, hey, and he just was kind of like, and so now he's trying to figure out whether he's making a mountain out of a molehill or whether he should actually approach his best friend and say, hey, listen, it's not my business, but. We'll talk about that coming up next.
So another, we've been talking about this addiction and denial and illness and getting better. We'll talk about Vituro Health. This is National Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, and Vituro Health is one of our sponsors. They are great. They're out there creating new treatments for prostate cancer, and they're refining treatments. And the reason I say that there's a similarity here is this. There are a lot of guys who are so afraid that if they develop cancer, they're afraid of cancer like we all are, but if they develop cancer of the prostate, they're afraid. They've heard about ED and the negative sexual side effects. Guys, there are so many treatments now to treat prostate cancer. Number one, so you can live. Number two, so you can live in a very normal, healthy way. And number three, without the negative sexual side effects. So please, go to their webpage today, Vituro Health. It's VituroHealth.com, VituroHealth.com.
Beautiful.
Lovely. Awesome.
We'll be back in a minute.